Jedi Survivor is a game I wanted to play months ago, but due to technical difficulties, I was unable to do so. It was a game I had been anticipating for a while. I adored the first one. Jedi Fallen Order was an absolute blast to play. And not being able to play the next game was a real disappointment. This was an unoptimized game that should have been cooked for a little bit longer before being released on PC. Now that most of the technical difficulties have been fixed and I was able to finish the game, it's still going to be challenging to talk about. Mostly because I had such a great time playing through it that I forgot to take notes both mentally and physically. And I almost made the decision to skip the review and move on to the next game. But Respawn did such a great job with both Jedi Fallen Order and this installment, as far as gameplay is concerned, that I did really want to talk about it. Alright, this is my better late than never review of Star Wars Jedi Survivor. This game picks up sometime after Fallen Order and you're playing as the red-headed hero Cal Kestis again. The old team is split up and Cal is trying to take down the Empire with a new team of outlaws and heroes. Everything seems to be going great and Cal has some new friendships that he formed behind the scenes. But by the end of the first mission with this new crew, basically the whole team is wiped except for BD1 from the first game and your new soon-to-be best friend Bode. From here, a big part of the game reminds me a bit of Mass Effect 2 in that you'll be spending a lot of time rounding up old friends from the first game to help track down information about a new homeworld that would be safe from the Empire. This is essentially the goal of the entire game, to find a way to get to this new homeworld. You know where it is. But the route there is difficult. You have to travel through this thing called the Kobo Abyss, which exists outside of the planet you'll spend a lot of time on. The plan is to make this planet, called Tanalorr, the new home and safe haven for Jedi and everybody displaced by the Empire. The main antagonist for a big part of the game is a Jedi named Dagan, who you wake up from a deep sleep. He was also on a quest to turn this planet into a home for the Jedi, but at some point the Order makes him abandon the mission and he feels betrayed, and so in return betrays the Jedi, and they defeat him and lock him up in a Bacta tank for 200 years, until you find him and release him. You release him not knowing what he did to betray the Order. You're releasing him because you think he can help find this new planet. So the majority of the game is Cal trying to find a way to Tanalorr, and a big part of that involves stopping Dagan from getting there first. In your first fight with Dagan, you quickly realize that he has fully embraced the dark side of the Force and will do whatever it takes to destroy the Order and reach this new planet to help build an army to take on the Empire. At any cost, essentially. So yeah, in your adventures, you reacquaint yourself with the team from Fallen Order. The adorable BD1 is with you from the beginning of the game, as well as your new human best friend, Bode. Bode is a jetpack-wearing, gun-toting freelancer who decides that your mission to take down the Empire and find a new home is much more important than just making money.
Cal, good to see you. All right. Spoke too soon.
You're also reacquainted with Night Sister Marin, who is a true friend and a romantic interest. Grease, your pilot from the first game, rejoins as your pilot and also has a bar on Kobo that becomes your safe house. It also becomes a safe house for other characters you find out in the universe. You can send them back. I think Star Wars Jedi Survivor is a great game with a capital G. Together, Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor tell a fantastic story of temptation and honor, of sacrifice and forgiveness, and of the human struggle for peace, and most importantly, a place to call home. All of the characters grow and change as the events of the story unfold. Cal slowly starts to embrace his dark and vengeful nature at times when things become extremely dire. But he is ultimately a kind and caring person with a strong family unit bound by tragedy that are there to remind him that some costs are just too high. I think the story and the characters work very well together. I think they all become believable as you play the game. The gameplay in Jedi Survivor is some of the best. The swordplay is fluid and fun and feels impactful, and all of the force powers are useful. There's a leveling system in place that's broken into 3 sections. There's force powers, lightsaber stances, and Survival skills. Each section has multiple trees to level, which will help shape your playstyle. And there's no way I could have leveled everything on my first playthrough. So you do have to make some decisions, though you can refund all of your points for free the first time, and then each additional time will cost 1 point. I didn't want to give up a point ever, so I had to really think about everything I leveled up the entire time as to not make any mistakes. You can switch between 2 lightsaber stances on the fly, which allows for some really dynamic gameplay. I of course went with dual swords and the double blade stance. The dual sword stance is very fast paced and designed for one-on-one combat, and feels like a bit of a cheat because your block will actually cancel the previous animation. So it's one of the best trees in the game to level, in my opinion. The double blade is great for taking on multiple enemies and has a cool spin move that allows you to plow through large groups. Each node in the different trees will unlock new moves and powers, and by the end of the game you feel like a true Jedi badass. The world and environments all feel really well done. There are a ton of cool enemies to fight, both humanoid and alien, sentient and beast, and most of the story boss and world boss fights are excellent fun. They're fast paced and require you to think quickly without getting overconfident, and you will definitely need to properly use your attacks, combos, blocks, and force powers to win these battles. It's a really excellent combat system that took everything great about the first game to the next level. There are platforming puzzles and Jedi temples to explore. The Jedi temples feel a bit like shrines from Breath of the Wild. But unlike Breath of the Wild, I never get bored of them, probably because there just aren't that many. I have to give a big thank you to Respawn for making that decision. You can find shards and memories and special containers around the universe that unlock different benefits for both Cal and BD1. There are also outfits, hairstyles, lightsaber components, and droid parts that will allow for some cool visual customization. To me, Jedi Survivor is a good mix of Mass Effect and Breath of the Wild, though I do say Mass Effect is the better Star Wars. Don't hate me, I do love them both, at least the original trilogies. I won't lie, there are still some nasty slowdowns when you're playing on PC. Most of the game ran great for me at a solid 60, but there were sections that would drop down to 20 and 30 in an instance. Still totally playable, but absolutely annoying. And I'm guessing if you had a mid-range PC, this would be a real issue. I probably couldn't blame anybody for hating the game based on that alone. There were also a few too many puzzles and paths that had no clear way to move forward. And I don't mean that these were difficult puzzles. I mean that there was nothing to indicate that there was something to interact with or move past. It's nothing so frustrating that I quit, and you will eventually figure it out, but it can be a real pain in the ass. My last and biggest gripe is that at some point near the end of the game, you're forced to play a character that you had no control in developing or shaping. This character's powers are set, and they are way more powerful than Cal or anybody else in the game, and they get to fight arguably the greatest antagonist in the Star Wars universe. The whole thing just feels bad. It's almost as bad as when a game takes away all of your character development and just makes you play a huge chunk without any powers. It's jarring in the worst way possible and makes Cal's character feel almost pointless. Like, oh, this new character is actually the badass, and who the hell knows why they sent Cal on all of these missions to save the universe when they could have just done it themselves. This character could literally just mow down hordes of enemies in the time it takes Cal to kill one elite. It just felt like a really dumb gameplay decision. What really sucks is that I like that this section of the game was part of the story. I just wish you were playing as Cal fighting alongside this other character. It wouldn't have been as jarring, and maybe it would have even been more impactful. Luckily, it doesn't last too long, and then you're dropped back into the shoes of the character you've been developing the whole damn game. So my final verdict is that this is an awesome game if you can get it to run without any slowdowns and hiccups. As far as I'm concerned, the story is better than anything that came after the original trilogy. The game world is extremely fun to explore, and most of the puzzles and platforming are fantastic. And I think the leveling system and combat are perfect for a game like this. And by game like this, I mean a game in the Zelda style. A giant adventure game with tons to explore and medium to difficult, fast-paced and engaging combat. It has a fantastic story that pushes you to the end with a whole bunch of memorable, lovable characters that you get to bomb around the universe with. If you like Star Wars, you are going to like this game. If you only like the original trilogy and hate everything else, you'll probably still like this game. If you want adventure time... you want adventure time. If you want an adventure game that shares some stuff with Breath of the Wild and Mass Effect and can lean into the difficulty of Dark Souls at times, you'll probably like this game. I definitely want people to play. I think it's fantastic. But it is fair to say that this game still has some technical problems, and that sucks. For me, Star Wars is the original trilogy, and now these two games. If I had the time, I'd probably play it again. Yeah, that's it. See you later.